Hey guys, sorry about that. Listen, you don't need to be a CPA or an accountant and wear, a sports coat to start a business. But I do want to talk to you about what it's going to cost to start that business. And I want to go over this because um, I'm trying to break some mythology and to help you just find that sweet spot where you can just launch that business. So what I want to do is I want to just give you two numbers, $3,000 and 12 months. Now, just in pure disclosure here, depending on the type of business that you're going to start, your startup costs can be anywhere from $3,000 or more, and it can take up to 12 months to write a business plan and get everything in place, right? This is why I like to teach people how to start a business as a sole proprietorship where possible. It isn't always possible, but where possible, start a sole proprietorship and write a one-page business plan to get started. Now, let me kind of drill down into that to explain a little more about why. You see, this gives you time to decide, number one, what is your best business structure? What is the business structure that's right for you, your situation, your product or service, and the market, of course. And it also gives you time to test your ideas in the marketplace without spending thousands and thousands of dollars and months of hard work and research and so forth on something that may not work in the end. Now, this $3,000 is an average. There are businesses that can start for a few $100s. So please don't think that $3,000 is the magic number, because it all depends on the type of business that you start. I've seen estimates for restaurants upwards $300,000 or more. And I've seen, other businesses, depending on what it is that you're doing, it's going to change how much it's going to cost you to get started. Now, a lot of times when I'm talking about a sole proprietorship, I'm usually talking about home-based businesses, something that you can start real quick. It doesn't require a lot of overhead in the way of startup costs. It doesn't require a lot of inventory many times. You can start businesses for next to nothing and get started and test the market with your ideas. There is so much free there's so many free platforms and tools out there that it's absolutely amazing that more people don't start. Now, I was, born in the late 60s and raised from the 70s till now, right? And so I saw the world before computers. I was on the forefront of, the first home computers. And so when I started out in the business world, number one, number two, when I started my business, my very first business, we didn't have social media. In fact, we barely even had email that was, interesting, much less, websites. Websites were very rudimentary, very crude and childlike, right? Compared to what we have now. We didn't have social media. We didn't have YouTube and all of these other tools. I wasn't able to do a video like this and post it out on many different platforms for people to see. So the tools we have right now make it virtually impossible for you to not start a business for next to nothing. But again, I want to emphasize, as you're watching this is all going to be dependent on you and your business idea. If you're looking to start a plumbing business, you're going to have a different cost structure for starting as opposed to someone who wants to start, let's say, a consulting business or a coaching business where they're working with people, via video. So keep this in mind, that the numbers I give you and the things I talk about, we're going to talk in broad general terms. And I also want you to understand that anything I talk about is based on my experience. This doesn't mean that my experience translates into a one and done definite for you, because I don't know your personality. I don't know your circumstances. I don't know your market. I don't know the product or service that you're trying to sell. But what I can tell you is if you follow my advice in the generalist of ways, you will have everything you need foundationally to start the business and to start figuring things out. Any decision that you make should be based on what is right for you, the business you want to start, and the level of risk that you're willing to take before you make your first dollar. Now, with that being said, I'm going to tell you that I'm not a CPA. I'm not an attorney. I'm not an accountant. Okay. I'm not a financial advisor. So when I talk to you about these things, I'm talking to you about the experiences I've had, and in some ways, the anecdotal evidence I've gotten from my successful clients. Now, I will tell you that at some place in this process, you should talk to an accountant or CPA. You should consult an attorney where needed. Now, there's tools out there where you can certainly, launch your business, what your business structure is going to be. Is it going to be an S Corp? Is it going to be a C Corp? Are you going to be an LLC? Are you going to be B Corp? I mean, there's so many different options out there that you're really going to need to spend some time figuring out what seems to work for you and is right for you. A lot of people default to the LLC. There are different types of, risks that you need to consider with that. And you also need to make sure that you're consulting with a CPA to understand how that flows to your personal taxes. And also, you'll want to think about S Corp, C Corp, what do those mean? And there's other really cool dynamic structures you can build beyond that. So with that being said, the only way that you're going to know if a business idea is a winning idea is that you're going to have to test the market as soon as possible. And this is why I talk about setting up a sole proprietorship. What is a sole proprietorship? Well, that means that you decide you're going to go into business and you don't even need to have a name for it. Really, I mean, every piece of income flows through to your personal taxes. Okay, it's personally taxed, and so there's a way that you can report that as additional income on your taxes. And a sole proprietorship means that all of the risk lies on you in that moment. So if you're going into, let's say, counseling, or maybe you're going to do something that could cause you to be opened up for risk because you're going into someone else's home, and let's say you're a plumber or electrician, or if you're an electrician and the house burns down, you have to have certain coverage and insurance, and you have to have certain licenses. And so there's a lot of complexity. The more complex your business gets, the more complexity that's involved. So I want you to keep this in mind, that a sole proprietorship may not always be the right move for you. But if you're wanting to start a business where you're selling t-shirts, or you're going to drop ship product, or you're setting up some sort of training, or maybe you're doing some sort of personal training, fitness coaching, or whatever, your level of risk will be different along the way. So you need to weigh all of that out and understand what that means. And sometimes you may need to just spend a couple $100 to talk to a business attorney. So keep that in mind. Now, where possible, you need to test these ideas and get them to market. What that means is that if you have a business idea, let's say you want to sell a widget, let's say you want to sell whatever this is, and you want to test it in the market, and you have a way to make it or provide it. Or let's say you want to be a fitness coach and you want to test the market, and you have a specific niche or focus for your market. You want to get that idea out there as quick as possible and start testing it and figuring out what's going to work, what isn't going to work, what social media is going to work, what isn't going to work, what is your method to get your message out, what is the platform you're going to use to work with your customer. Is it a e-commerce site? Is it just a website? Are you going to use Zoom or Google Chat or some other video platform? What is it you're going to use? So all these things we work out. Now, obviously, I don't really want to talk about that today, but I'm just kind of laying a foundation for you that there are things that you have to keep in mind. And I do a full training that I walk you through how to write a business plan, and we actually unpack some of these things. Now, it's a very long process, I have a free video over on my YouTube channel, Maximum Change, where you can watch this video, and I talk about a one-page business plan. And you should also have a link to that business plan there available to you so you can download it. So depending on the type of business, you're going to experience a certain level of expenses. Now, I want to go ahead and just kind of go through some things that you need to really be thinking about when you're starting a business. And I'm just pulling this up on my screen. And so if you give me just a moment, pull this over. Now, I'm just going to jump around, but some things that you need to think about is, what is it going to cost you to start your business from a legal standpoint? Now, this means your business structure. Are you going to be an LLC? Are you going to be an S Corp, a C Corp, B Corp? What is it that you're going to be? Now, at some point, you don't want to stay a sole proprietor because you want to remove the risk off of you. And when I talk about risk, I mean risk from lawsuits, or a risk from creditors or whatever. Different business structures create a firewall between the owners and the world. And let's face it, we live in a very litigious world, meaning people like to sue. And so you need to make sure that you understand the costs involved with setting up a business structure. Now, I'm just going to be honest with you, and in the fact that I have never really spent a lot of money on attorneys for this. I am not an attorney, but I have had enough experience in the business world and working in corporations and doing consulting for corporations that I've set up a C Corp, an S Corp, and LLCs before, because I have access to, the templates, the documents. And so I just entered that in. You can actually get business documents like that through different types of platforms out there. All you need to do is look up, legal forms for starting a business, and you'll find that. And so, you may end up spending anywhere from, under $100 to several, maybe $500 to $1,000 just to set up these documents. So you need to keep that in mind. Now, that's certainly a step that you need to take when you're setting up your legal registration, but it's not just the end all. You need to think about, where you're registering for your state and your local municipality, because sometimes cities or regions require you to register your business in the county, in the city, in the state, because they're going to look for, taxes or whatever. So you need to keep all of that in mind. And there's ways that you can go to your state and local governments and enter in, what does it cost to set up a business, or what does it cost to get a business license, or what do you need to get open a business in the state of, Florida, Tennessee, Ohio, Indiana, New York, whatever. List your state, and you just do a general business search on a search engine. But then there are also business tax expenses that you're going to need to keep in mind. If you're selling a service, they're not sales taxable, meaning you're not going to have to collect sales tax. But if you're going to sell a product, you need to understand what the sales tax rules are for your area. You may have some sort of software costs that you need to keep in mind. Now, this could be anywhere from, setting up a website to, you need, Excel or Word. But if you don't want to spend money on Word processors and spreadsheets, you can use free tools from Google. There's Google Docs and Google Sheets and Google Present, and you got all that. And there's also Google Meet. So you got all those that you can use. You may need to spend money on research, because depending on what you're trying to start, you may feel the need to use tools like IBISWorld or Reference USA or some other, and some of those can cost you thousands of dollars. I typically don't use those tools unless the client wants me to. I have used other research methods to get there. So you don't have to spend this level of money. But again, the complexity of your market, the complexity of the product or service that you're wanting to offer may lend to having to do some deeper research. And again, there may be some accounting costs, like you might need to get a bookkeeping system. There's all sorts of different bookkeeping products out there, like QuickBooks and other accounting softwares. If you're going to have employees, or you're going to go full time into this business, you're going to have to pay yourself payroll taxes. So that means you're going to need to get a EIN, a federal ID number for taxes. If you're going to do this as a side hustle and you're going to do this as a sole proprietorship to get started, you don't need to go down that road of payroll taxes just yet and payroll expenses, but you need to keep that in mind. At some point, you're going to have to do that. And of course, with that is employee wage costs and so forth. Now, again, depending on the type of business that you're going to set up, if you're needing to be a public facing company, meaning you need to have an office, you're going to need to look at rent and utilities. And, there's also, some places have what's called intangible taxes. And so you need to understand what all of your requirements are for your area. So there may be rent, or if you're buying a building, there's mortgage, and there's also, you cannot forget, there's also property insurance. Liability insurance is usually covered in that. Of course, I've already talked about payroll taxes. If you're going to have employees, at some point they may expect to have some sort of benefits. So you may be paying for health care or health insurance or something. Again, if depending on the type of business you're starting, do you need office supplies? Do you need some sort of inventory? You need to think about those things, because you may need a printer. You may need paper for that printer. You may need to have pens and notepads. You may need to buy a computer. All of this stuff is stuff that you need to think about. Now, there are other, again, depending on what you're doing, marketing expenses. It could be from the online world. Maybe there's print, advertising, radio, television. Again, it depends on the type of business you're building and how you're going to do that. There are also, certainly if you're going to have a business where you have to take money, you might have a point of sale, POS, it may be a software, it may be a register. All of those things need to be taken into account as you're doing that. If you're going to ship product from your place, you're going to have to think about shipping costs. Do you need liability insurance? Do you need to spend money on repairs and maintenance? Things do break down, and you think about those things. Do you need to pay for travel? Do you yourself need consultants, or maybe you're going to get a business coach or a business mentor like me to work with you? Certainly, you need to think of other expenses, like what are your business licenses? A lot of states require that you register your name, your business name, or your business with them every year. And I know the states I've actually lived and operated in, I've seen this, and they call it different things, but it's usually a couple $100, again, depending on where you are. It may be higher. You may need to look at, what does it cost to incorporate, legal fees, again, inventory, equipment, technology, furniture. And, if we go back to the consultant side, sometimes we put IT consultants, people that help us set up and help us maintain our networks under that. Do we need furniture? Do you need a desk? Do you need to spend money to build a website or get a website? Or do you need signs for your business? I don't use them, but some people still use business cards. In fact, I was just in the doggy daycare yesterday to pick up my dog, and I saw a business card for someone who's offering dog training. And so, these are still powerful tools, but not everyone needs them. I am a digital product service. I offer my products through the internet. And so I have business cards, but I can buy 1,000 business cards and it'll last me 20 years. So, do you need business cards or not? Market research, security deposits, all of these things you need to think about as you're building this business that you want to start. You can think about location expenses, insurance, borrowing. Now, if this is a whole other area, if you're going to borrow money, there's a cost for that. And right now, at the time that I am recording this video, we're in an inflationary time. Things are increasing in cost. And so interest rates keep going up. So the cost of a business loan today might be much higher than it was, say, 4 or 5 years ago. All of these things are things that you can keep in mind. Inventory costs. What does that mean? Well, it's the cost of, if you're ordering stuff at wholesale, you're going to have it shipped to you. That's an inventory cost. Of course, buying the product is an inventory cost. Maybe maintaining it in the environment before you ship it is going to be an inventory cost. So you need to think about those things. Maybe, things that people don't think about. Photos, headshots, things that are, how are you going to advertise yourself? Are you photographing your products? All of these are things that you need to keep in mind as you're building a business. Now, I know this sounds like spaghetti against the wall, but what I want to do is say to you, if you start a business as an S corp, excuse me, not as an S corp, if you start a business as a sole proprietorship, and then you work your way into S corp, C corp, B corp, LLC, or whatever, starting as a sole proprietorship many times just gives you the time to feel things out and slowly build your business without outlaying thousands of dollars and going into debt to get started. It also allows you to tweak and figure out what's going to work in the market and to get your product out in front of people now, or your service out in front of people now, so that you can start making money. The best business in the world is the business where you can take an idea and turn it into profit immediately. Now, what is that business for you? I don't know. But what's exciting is if you've got an idea and you're willing to take the step, you can start a business today. If you go over to my YouTube channel, and my handle's Maximum Change. So if you go to YouTube.com/maximum change, you can find a video on there where I have a 1-page business plan and I walk you through how to do that. Get your idea out in the market as soon as you can. And look, if you want some help or you need some extra training, go to our website, MaximumChange.com. You can reach out to us, info@MaximumChange.com. Or you can send me a message here on this platform where the video is. I would love to hear from you, and I'd love to help you get started. Now, please understand, I'm not going to do it for you, but I'd love to teach you how to get there. What I do is I look at what we do as an alternative to the pricey, expensive, time-consuming business schools. So if you have a business idea and you want to get it to market, and you just want to learn how to do it, I do it in small pieces. This is probably a longer video than I'll do in my training platforms. Typically, my training videos are about 5 to 10 minutes, but usually no more than 15 minutes long. And what I'll do is I break down a concept, talk to you about it, and then I give you a tool or an activity for you to take away and start working on so that you can develop your business idea into a profitable, long-term, growth-oriented business. Hope you have a great day. I'm Dr. Foster, MaximumChange.com. See you soon.